Hey everyone, Taku here, and I hope you're doing well. And today I thought I'd bring you along with me to one of the beautiful parks here in Toronto. I'm at Hyde Park here in Toronto during the peak autumn season, where actually a lot of the leaves have already fallen to the ground. But I was taking a stroll in the woodlands in the area, and I managed to come out with some beautiful fall pictures that I wanted to show you. So I tried various compositions by walking around the area, choosing what I wanted to see within the frame and not in the frame. And I also tried doing different techniques like multiple exposures. For whatever reason, autumn tends to be a time where I enjoy experimenting with my photography, doing different things, learning new concepts and techniques. So I wanted to try and do those things while creating some images that I'm very proud of. So I hope you like the images and let me know in the comments below, and I'll share with you some of the tips that I look for as well. One tip to note with these images is that I do have a polarizer on my lens, which actually accentuates the colors and deepens the blue in the sky, because without it, it'll actually be a little dull and not as contrasty. So I'll show you the difference here. I have this scene right here in front, and let's expose it so it's not overexposed. There we go. Right, and you can see here that there's actually a lot more blue here than you would normally see without the filter on. So I have the polarizer filter on now. I'm going to take it off, and you can now see that everything is a little less vibrant. Even the blue in the sky is not as vibrant as it was before, and the colors of the foliage are not as vibrant either. So let's stick that back on, and this is how I use the polarizer to accentuate the colors in my exposure. Today is actually partly cloudy, and so that means the sun keeps popping in and out from the clouds. So depending on where the sun is, if it's actually shining on the foliage or not, you're going to get different color combinations, different contrasts. So that's something you do need to look into. Sometimes contrast works. You get the beautiful vibrant colors of the foliage. Other times when the sun is actually hidden in the clouds, you get muted tones. And when I look for muted tones, I look for the entire scenery to be muted, so they complement one each other and not one color is actually popping out more than the other. And with that, you are able to create actually very beautiful, subtle, and almost nostalgic autumn pictures. So I love both combinations, and I actually take great care in looking where the sun is and where it's shining in my image. I have some beautiful fall foliage right here, but then I have clouds and open white space right in the middle of the frame that's very distracting. The clouds have moved in, covering the blue sky, so when this happens, I tend to not include any of the clouds in the picture because it doesn't serve as any point of interest. When this happens, I'll try and reframe it so that the foliage takes center stage, and that often brings a more compelling composition in your images. Okay, so I just wanted to stop here and give you an example of what I look for when I do some autumn photography. And I'll take this scenery here right behind me as an example because there's so many things that I can do with here. Given the right composition, the treatment of light, and the technique that you use, you can come up with so many different variations of photos just with this one scenery alone. I try various things like multiple exposures and different compositions by walking around the area, so you can see the differences in things that I like to include, such as overhanging branches that may lead your eye from one place to another in a frame, or maybe not even include that, so putting more focus on the actual leaves and trees in the background. So lots of different things that you can do with just one scenery here, and I just wanted to show you a few examples of that. Here's an example of some multiple exposures that I did with this very scene here. I wanted to play against the curvature of the branch here, as well as highlighting the red bushes there. So those two will contrast each other in the different movement that I make with multiple exposures. So let's take a look at what we can get here. The multiple exposure feature in your camera allows you to combine multiple images using different blending modes, all within the camera. By twirling my camera between exposures, the resulting image produces unique patterns and textures not seen with the naked eye. What I do with the multiple exposures is I frame the image first, and then I decide what the center of twirl will be. So it doesn't have to be the center of the image per se. I pick somewhere that I think will create a unique pattern by rotating my camera around the axis, or center of twirl. So it might be actually right in this corner here, where the beginning of the branch is, or maybe I might decide to put it right here in the red bushes. But nonetheless, depending on where you put the center of twirl, you'll actually see that it creates unique effects, giving the viewers a different focal point. I find this very interesting and enjoy the creative process of making something a little abstract. So I found an image here, and I just wanted to share with you what I look for. Here's a great example of a beautiful fall foliage here. So what I was looking for was pretty much the same tonal values and colors. So nothing that's too overly bright or overly dark. Somewhere where the colors are actually all the same tones. And I found this area here where we have the muted maples here with the muted green and the yellows in the backdrop. Now my key concern with this image was actually this tree here and the overhanging branch there. I wanted to compose it in a way that it wasn't as distracting to the eye. So there's various ways of doing that. One, by not including the overhanging branch at all, although you do get a little bit of it up there, so I'm not sure if I like this entirely. Maybe we can go something like this. Or on the opposite side, you can actually zoom out and frame it so the overhanging branch and the tree itself is within the image. And that way we can get context as to where the overhanging branch is coming from. And you get a better understanding of the entire picture. This might work as well. In this case, we do have a little bit of open white space there that I'm not so sure I like. And I'll show you the images that I took with this. You can essentially have a variety of images with this one composition in front of you. So here's another example where I found a great composition where we have the burnt out shrubs here in the foreground. I wanted to contrast that with the bright yellow of the trees in the background, as well as the highlighting reds in the backdrop there. So I zoomed in a little bit closer to tighten up the composition and made sure that all of those are balanced with each other. I did not center the tree trunk in the frame because I did not like what was on the left-hand side, and I felt like the overhanging branches served as a great centerpiece for this particular composition. And here's the image. So check out this pretty unique shape branch that I saw with these leaves. I was walking through the pathway and I came across it this way with the sun shining in front of me towards the lens. So that wasn't going to make a good picture. So I actually went directly behind it. And now, although you have foliage in the back, I have a little bit of the yellow there. So in this case, because of the unique shape of the branch, I decided to do multiple exposure twirling techniques. And this is the image that I came out with using various center of twirls. So here's a quick tip on composition and what I look for when I'm composing a shot in the woodland area. I found this beautiful area right here, and when I look for composition, I look for balanced elements within the frame. So what do I mean by that? From left to right and top to bottom as well, I often want to have a sense of balance so no one side is overpowering the other. What that means is when I include a tree on the left hand side, I often try and include another one on the right hand side to balance the weight of the elements out. If I ignore that one tree on the right hand side and frame something like this, you might notice that it's overpowering on the left. There's nothing on the right. There's a big lump of green here in the center. Then your eye has trouble figuring out what to focus on, and it's not clear where that center of focus should be in this particular frame. So if I shift it and maybe zoom out to include that other tree on the right hand side, now it's properly balanced. That green shrub is centered nicely so we can easily see what our focal element is. It's whatever is in between those trees. So just a simple consideration like that from this makes a big difference. So take a look at your composition to see if elements are weighted properly and you have a sense of balance in your images. Alright, so I just saw this beautiful composition just by walking on the path. So I wanted to show you what I might do with it. First of all, I saw this great line of beautiful red leaves here that's actually surrounded or sandwiched by the two greens on the bottom and the top. I thought I might be able to do something there, but while I was looking there, I turned to my left and I saw, look at that tree. That faint little tree there in the background right there is being sandwiched by these two trees on either side. I want to get a little closer to that tree because I really like how it looks. It's a little faint with the foreground being a little bit stronger. There's a nice play on contrast there. This composition here actually might work as well because this bit of red here leaves our eye right towards the center of the frame. When I was working with this composition, I saw that there were people walking right in front of that tree, so there is a pathway there. So I'm going to go take a look at that pathway and see if I can find a better composition. In the meantime, I did take some pictures here that I really liked, so I'll show you one right now. Alright, so I actually walked to that pathway in front of that tree here, and you can see that it's right there. Now, I lost that contrasting element of the foreground to the tree. The tree is no longer as faint as it used to be, so I actually prefer the composition that I had before that I just showed you. And I noticed that the pathway here goes even further, so I walked a little bit closer to the tree and I found out that this is the exact same tree that I photographed earlier today, where I showed you the image of the overhanging branch. So lo and behold, this tree does look great in many different angles. So it's important to know that if you have a subject matter, always look at it from different compositions and different angles and pick the best one that you like to create your image. So after all that, here is a slideshow of images that I took. I hope you like them. Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching my video.